world. And it's our great pleasure to introduce our dear friend and the amazing Manu Mariel this evening. And Helene is going to fill you in on what tonight is about.
Right. We're going to be speaking, she's going to be speaking about the Age of Brilliance, Part 19, Cadence to Quantum Creation, and the 12 Pathways with Manu Mariel. And this is a leap from rhythm to Zoom. And
sounds very exciting.
It is very exciting. Into the quantum creation, where intention turns into instant manifestation.
Oh, I like that part.
So, this is the second sacred session where we will discover what cadence truly is. So, Manu, why don't you unveil it to us all about quantum creation?
Yeah, instant manifestation. That sounds really wonderful.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, let's begin.
Also,
and yeah,
on your becoming a bestseller, your book,
thank you.
Unstoppable, and you also your great song. Congratulations.
Yes.
I'm very grateful for this new understanding of what's possible. You know, I've really taken my poetry, because when I began my journey of spiritual awakening, the first spiritual awakenings that I had were all of them made me a poet, basically. And I started writing poetry. So there are about 45 such poems that I wrote, and I've started converting them into different songs. So enjoying this newfound journey, and thank you so much for your assistance with that.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's begin. Mute. Okay, so today's session will go as far as we can go, and then we'll continue next week as necessary, because I think there are a few important words for us to really understand here. And it's a combination of cadence, quantum, creation. So, and then the 12 pathways. So what we're going to do is to really understand what all of this actually means. So let's begin with understanding cadence, first of all. Cadence is a rhythm. It's a rhythm of your existence. It's a natural beat, the flow, the breath, in between moments. And that's why cadence pulls you forward. You know, I've used the term cadence in the context of walking. And, we used to go for a walk to Hampstead Heath every Sunday when I lived in the UK. And my partner, Phil, would often say that, look, the entire 3-mile walk can be exhausting unless you get yourself into cadence right at the get-go. So we would always climb up Parliament Hill, which is like a tough thing to do, right, when you start walking. But by the time we got to the top of the hill, we were in cadence. And then the rest of the walk was actually such a pleasant walk. And that's really what cadence is, even in a natural state. It is a natural beat, the flow, and the breath in between moments. And then you don't even think about it. You literally just keep moving forward. So in the age of brilliance, what does that actually mean? In the age of brilliance, cadence is not just consistency. In the age of brilliance, cadence is alignment with the deeper pulse of creation itself. So it is the harmony between your inner frequency and the larger grand symphony of life itself. If you understand cadence in this way, and when you start living in cadence, you move gracefully, without rushing, without delay, and each step has its timing. Each action has its resonance. And life unfolds in a dance rather than a drag. Just the visual imagery of what I'm saying gives you an understanding of what this could mean in the context of what you intend to accomplish. So, what does it actually mean when you apply cadence? And that's what we're going to do once we understand what it means to add quantum to creation. Creation, we sort of understand, all of us. Creation has always been a part of life, building, birthing, innovating. But up until now, most creation has been linear and effort driven, bound by time, bound by logic, bound by whatever we believe our limitations are. When you add quantum to creation, it shifts us. Quantum, actually, what's the meaning of quantum? Let's understand that. What it means is a multidimensional, instantaneous, beyond the old limits of cause and effect. When you create quantumly, what it means is to weave in possibility across time and space. What does that mean? It means you start collapsing delays and you start expanding your outcomes. It is creation that is holographic, one that is inspired, and what it does is it shifts ripples across relationships, business, health, and planet. Slightly complex what I'm talking about, but if you allow yourself to simply be and really go with the imagery that your mind starts to create as I'm speaking, it will all start to land bit by bit, and hence the 7 pathways. But it is important for you to understand what the context is of these pathways. So whereas life before had been transactional, effort in, result out. Quantum creation is transformational. Intention in, miracles out. And all of you here, I do not promote the age of brilliance transmissions beyond meditation or people who are the alumni who've done my work and done deeper work with me. So what can you do? How can you move? How can you shift? So that intention is what you put in. And miracles, expecting and accepting miracles, become the norm. So now let's combine quantum creation. And what does that quantum creation look like? Decisions become instant manifestation. Decisions become instant manifestations. You may have an intention, but your decision you may not even be aware of may contradict that which you have intended. I want to be a millionaire, and you're anxious about rent payment. So the decision really is the anxiety around paying money out. So that's the decision, and you get it manifested. You remain anxious around money across a whole variety of areas in your life. You made the decision of vibrant vitality, and you're anxious about that ache in your tummy. And what will come out? The decision is anxiety, keeping anxiousness anchored. And then it ceases to be about the body, it starts showing up all over the place. So this is a very important piece to understand when it comes to quantum creation. Decisions become instant manifestations. The second one is obstacles. Obstacles dissolve because they're seen as energy fields, not walls. If it's a wall, you've got to like really pull it down, break it down, bulldoze it through. So where is the energy going? Its energy is going in keeping that wall, in strengthening the wall as something that comes in the way. Whereas if something is an obstacle, okay, you can find a way around it. You can actually brush it aside. And in the age of brilliance, you can dissolve it. You can neutralize it. An energy field, responds to vibration. A physical wall also responds to vibration, but you may not know how to deal with it. Your mind will interfere big time. So once you understand, so in the realm of quantum creation, understand that you are the creator. Look, each one of us, life is a gift. And it's a gift of a state in which we are being, a state in which we as an organism is breathing. And that breath can stop at any time. And that changes the state of life to death. And when that change occurs, what happens is that speck of consciousness, which is the consciousness of the creator, departs from our human body and floats around until it finds another body, should it choose to come back. So with quantum creation, you are able to accomplish that which our creator has been able to accomplish, because you are the essence of the creator. You are the creator himself. The third piece to understand around quantum creation is collaboration. Collaboration is what multiplies exponentially. Collaboration multiplies exponentially, not incrementally. So really important, extremely important for any intentional project or any intentional result that you are declaring for yourself, to first find who will be the collaborators, even before you identify who can be your co-creators. Because it is collaboration that multiplies exponentially, not incrementally. Sometimes, people become attached to having co-creators. I've seen this a lot, especially since there's a real propagation of creating startups in India, for example. A lot of founders going to be I want to find a co-founder. I don't know why that is, but first get collaborators who can support you and enable you and equip you to multiply that which you intend exponentially. And that enables you to define more precisely what you would like to see in a co-creator. Otherwise, you'll end up giving a lot of credence to a co-creator, and very slowly and definitely you start giving your power away until it comes back to you feeling resentful or feeling depleted, feeling that you have to like really push for your point of view. But that's only because you rushed ahead and got somebody in as a co-creator. It's a nuanced point, but a very important point. What also happens in quantum creation is you're no longer bound by how long it takes, but actually by how aligned you are. This is a very, very big difference. And this is the great leap of the age of brilliance. Moving from cadence, aligned rhythm, into quantum creation, which is exponential manifestation. And we've talked about quantum manifestation previously. This is a cadence-led quantum creation. Manifestation is a consequence of that. So now let's look at the 12 pathways. Now, before I go in, I just want to check in. David, Helene, is there anything that you're getting that you wish to bring up at this point, or any questions? Unmute, unmute.
Just let you know that this is the new paradigm. This is the new, in the age of brilliance, this is the new way that we have to look at it, which is going to make life very, so much easier for us.
Yeah, yeah. It's important to understand each piece of it. That's the key thing that I'm saying. Okay, let's continue and look at the 12 pathways. Now it's mute you. Asha is asking a question. Let me just check. I'll bring in examples as I go into the pathways, Ashaji. So let's see if that helps answer it. Okay, let's take the first pathway. Each pathway, first of all, what is this pathway? Each pathway is a bridge, and it's a bridge to activation, and together they make the impossible inevitable. So the first pathway is my favorite phrase for Age of Brilliance, which is take the next step next. So let's look at what is taking the next step next mean. What it means is it is the courage to move forward, however small, and what it does is when you take that next step next, even if it is a small next step, you're actually really activating and mobilizing the power of the moment. And what occurs in the moment? Miracles. What's making your heart sing? So let me share an example here. An example would be there's someone that I'm working with, a young entrepreneur in his 30s, and did very, very well in terms of came up with a great idea and converted that idea into a business. And then he was in his 20s when he came up with that idea. And 5 years on, he got a whole team together to really take that idea forward. And the team is, again, a bunch of young people that are very enthusiastic. They made their choices, they made some mistakes, they made some things that they did really right. So the business has continued, exponentially expanded. And then it got into a plateau, and then they got stuck and are not able to get out of that stuckness. So this entrepreneur is like, I just want to get out of this thing. Now it's been going for 10 years. And we're not able to go back to how it was. when we were able to achieve this exponential growth. So I'm done with it, I'm done with it. So that's the energy with which he's running. So there are lots of stuff that keeps appearing, which doesn't take them anywhere, or they start and then it stops. That's what has been happening. So I talked to him about this quantum creation, and the cadence to quantum creation is what I've got now. So I will certainly guide them around it. But what I did say to him that, look, of all the 12 pathways, if you just focus on the first one, taking the next step next, the main thing is, you put in all of this energy, you start something new in terms of a campaign, but underneath the decision you've made is, I'm done with it. If this doesn't work, then I'm done with it. But you've got a whole team of 90 or so people around the world, and many, many customers, and many potential customers who are all receiving this barrage of energy, which is, I'm done with it. So what if you just drop any thought around, I'm done with it or not? You hold the intention of what it is that you wish to accomplish, and given the lay of the land, whatever that lay of the land may be, a failed campaign, or a product that just didn't gain traction, whatever it may be, in that context, what is your next step? And just keep taking that next step next. And that next step may simply be that I want to go into silence for 2 days and regroup. That's fine. That also will be a movement forward. But what it starts to do is it starts to anchor the forward momentum in the now. And as you remain connected to your intention, that forward momentum starts to be applied to your intention. So that was the theory of it. The reality, what they experienced was this: by taking that next step, he himself transformed quite dramatically. His physical health transformed. And now it is applied like a domino effect on the business. And suddenly there were like 3 campaigns that they had run, one after the another, at great cost. And all 3 looked like they had failed, but they hadn't actually. They just had different rhythms. One of them's taken off, and now the second one is starting to take off. And taking the next step next is not such a huge decision that you bet your business on it. It automatically becomes a very smart choice. So taking the next step next is the courage to move forward, and with a knowing, however small. It is moving forward in the moment. And each moment is a moment of now. And now really is the moment of power. And that's why it matters. Without steps, dreams, ambitions, intentions remain suspended. Every time you take a step, it actually collapses potential into reality. That's the key thing to understand. Who does it impact? It impacts everyone who is frozen in fear, or trapped in perfectionism, or indecision. Remember, the first piece when I talked about quantum creation is decision. So what it makes possible is momentum. Momentum with synchronicity. and you experience the magic of doors opening just in time. So you can adopt a practice, a daily practice, with yourself. What is that next smallest step that I can take now? And then just take it. And you get into that forward momentum very rapidly. So I do this, and I've been doing it forever since I got the next step next. What is that next, the smallest step that I can take now to move this intention forward? And then, because it's a tiny step, your mind isn't going berserk with lots of thoughts that puts you in the yes but no but yes but no but category. You're able to comfortably take that next step. The second pathway. David, Helene, I move to the next one.
I just want to say one thing. What you're talking about is so important, because if you depending, no matter what your intention is, if you don't have momentum, then the idea is like stagnant. And I love the idea
Suspended.
suspended, and I love the idea of just taking even the smallest step that you possibly can. We always tell our people that the most important thing, really, if you have a vision, if you have a dream, is that every single day you have to move that forward, even if it's even in the smallest way. Take, even if it's 10 minutes or an hour each day, whatever you can work in, and make it a priority, because it's your heart. It's what's closest to your heart.
Take a tiny step.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The second pathway is listening to resonance. Listening to resonance, tuning into what it is you're tuning into what vibrates as truth, not just what appears logical. I had this situation occur just now, right? I was due to, I was in Rome, and I was going to be in Rome all the way until the 19th, and then come back so that I would be back in Dubai on the 20th early morning. And I'd just done an immersion into romance, refresh, restore, resurrect in Rome. And then I was going on to speak at the Women's International Network Conference. And I was looking forward to it because, I mean, there were many of our friends that were going to be there. Gail is there, who you've all known for a while, and several others, Shazia's there as well. So I complete the immersion and move into the Airbnb, and then getting ready for the conference that is beginning the next day. And when I tune into the vibration of my essence, my truth, I mean, this is all stuff that I do first thing in the morning, and I go into that, and my truth basically spoke up, which was, your work in Rome is complete. It's time for you to get back to Dubai. Now I've paid for the to be a part of the conference. It was a VIP conference. I paid to be there, paid for the Airbnb for the next 4 days, and I'm there in Rome, and I'm publicized as a speaker. So I'm there. So logically, it absolutely did not appear logical for me to leave all of that and come back to Dubai. But I mean, I've been working with Guidance and then become very diligent about only doing that, which is my guidance. And I now I understand what guidance was. The guidance really was that resonance, that inner resonance. And my inner resonance said, it's done, come back, go back to Dubai. So that's what I did actually. I had to, of course, manage the consequence of all of that. Now, I mean, maybe what I needed to do, because if I was there in the Airbnb, it was such a strange setup that whilst I would have been able to get up and do our Age of Brilliance session, but the entire house, because there were other people staying in the Airbnb, everyone would have heard me doing the Age of Brilliance. So I would have had to cancel this session. I wouldn't have been able to do any of the Beyond Meditation that I did, and yesterday's Beyond Meditation was a huge one, very big one. It was necessary for where we are at this time and occurrence. And there may be other reasons, but the reasons aren't that important. When I tune into the resonance, that was my truth. It is that action was vibrating where I had unequivocal flow of yumminess, despite the consequence of that meant many, many disappointments that needed to be, communicated and managed. Now, why did it matter for me to listen to this resonance and act on it? I literally had to take that next step next. The first person I communicated this to was Kristen, the woman who's created the Women's International Network. She was, of course, angry and upset. Okay, that had its own following up that needed to be done. So I literally went next step next. The next step was to communicate to Gail and to also communicate to Shazia, communicate to Mary Malloy, who were all there playing their part in the Women's International Network. But everywhere there was an upset. And there was, because people naturally go by their logical mind. I think Gail totally got that I follow guidance. But I was amazed that everybody else really went into, Shazia also really got, okay, I follow guidance. And Shazia has seen this, me following guidance and finding it, even though it didn't make any logical sense, and finding the result is completely transformational. So she goes along with my guidance. She was just able to express her disappointment and she was okay with it. And wherever people asked questions or wherever people asked me to look at a different way and look at how it would make people feel and what it would do to the women that were there, is it disrespect? I mean, that was all like, okay, it was their meaning, it was not mine. And I was not being disrespectful actually to the women that had come together, because there are many other amazing, amazing speakers who are all going to shine in their brilliance. So I just kept taking that next step next. Rather than defending, rather than justifying, because all I was doing was listening to resonance, and that is what the resonance was. It plugged me into my truth. So why does it matter to listen to resonance in the context of this cadence to quantum creation? It matters because resonance ensures that what you are creating is in harmony. And it is in harmony with source and not against it. That is a very important nuance for quantum manifestation itself. Being in harmony with source, as opposed to being against it, if you're against it, then you can easily go into, your autopilot that sabotages what you're able to accomplish. How do you know that you're in resonance is simply by experiencing that unequivocal flow of yumminess. You will also know you will not be able to be in resonance if you have a lot of unsaid communication. So being in communication as opposed to shutting out and running away from it, or making up some excuse about why I was not going to stay on, which would be much more plausible and logical, I chose not to do that. I just chose to say exactly what was so. And, yeah, of course, there was thinking about, oh, this means that we can never rely on you. It's you make of it whatever you wish to make of it. I'm just sharing with you my truth. The important thing is, yeah. Yes, David.
I say that I have always been a proponent of that we have to be honest with ourselves, honest, truly honest with ourselves, and this is a clear-cut example of what you were in that moment.
Yeah.
You were doing what you knew served you the
Yeah.
best, despite what
Yeah.
else was going on with them. So
Yeah.
And I have one thing to say. I also believe that it takes a great deal of courage to be true to yourself and to, it would have been very much easier to just stay there and,
mingle.
deal with everything. So
I think you knew on some other level that your work, you knew that your work is, what you had to move things forward with all your projects and everything else was more important.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the best part was by adopting this approach, just taking the next step next, I was able to move things forward and enable people to complete for themselves. You know, Mary's flourishing. Gail did a great job and she sang yesterday. Shazia is, was moving forward into London, and Kristen's doing a great job in anchoring another powerful year of the Women's International Network. But if I had gone into justification, a lot of their energy would have got dissipated and it would have just extended a conversation which wasn't really going to lead anywhere with, shame, guilt, all of that coming up in its negative connotations. And there was no need for any of that. Nobody needed to apologize for me. I was dealing with it myself. They just had to process whatever it meant for them, and I was not running away from them. I was right there for them to complete their processing.
yes.
Let's just continue with this pathway. It's a very powerful pathway, a small one, but a very powerful one. Who does it impact? It impacts leaders, creators, lovers, anyone who's making decisions, who's declaring intentions. And what it makes possible when you operate by listening from resonance, listening to your resonance, it releases resistance. There is greater flow and creations. You start creating creations that carry a natural magnetism. That's what it makes possible. A practice that anyone can adopt is just take a momentary pause before decisions. Place a hand on your heart and ask, does this expand me or contract me? You can still choose to take the steps that contracts you. but at least it's with conscious awareness. Where I am at this point in time in my life, I know I've chosen to only take the next step next. That expands me. What I have done here with each of the pathways in this Age of Brilliance portals, because this is all about opening the portal. When I do this session, and I believe this is the reason why I came back, this portal of cadence to quantum creation required to be open today. It could not be delayed, because when, in this moment of time, because in the Age of Brilliance, there's such time collapse and space bending that is occurring naturally. Some of these portals opening enables things to occur with great ease and grace. And joy will follow. I do believe this is the primary reason why I'm here in Dubai, because I could do this in the way that all of you anchor it as a container. So with every practice of this pathway, and my intention is to find ways in which you can walk on this pathway in a very practical way, with a practical practice that doesn't call you into creating another chunk of time to do something else. Just adding this little question, does it expand me or contract me, is enough. You have to have the courage to take the next step next. If your answer is, this contracts you. So you can decide, okay, I'm still going to take this action that contracts me because the consequence of everything that I have to manage is far too much. But with conscious awareness, you will still be taking the next step next and moving forward with your intention. There would be a chunk of time that would be wasted, but you could do it. The third pathway. The third pathway is living in coherence. So what does it mean? We've got a whole portal on coherence that has already been opened. What does living in coherence actually mean? It means you're aligning your thoughts with your words, with your emotions, and with your actions. And what are you aligning them to? You're aligning them all into one unified stream. You're aligning them all into one unified stream that is coherence. So despite some of my dear friends experiencing the disappointment, did I know that they will get disappointed? Of course I knew. Was I clear that I was actually going to, support them to work through their disappointment and get into an empowered state? Absolutely, I was. But giving in to, because I felt guilty to disappoint so many people, would actually take me away from coherence. The consequence of me not being in coherence, given where I am right now and what is to be brought forth through me as I go forward in my life, was far, far greater at an expansive level than actually dealing with the consequence of supporting people to process the disappointment into something that empowers them in their own brilliance. And the reason why they were able to process it and come out of it themselves was because I lived in coherence every step of the way. And they remained plugged into their coherence. So why does it matter? Why does it matter to be living in coherence? It matters because disjointed creation scatters energy, keeps you scattered. Coherent creation multiplies energy. And we've all felt that, right? When you feel it intuitively in your gut and you go ahead and do something because you have to or you need to. There you go. You've disjointed creation. And energy is now scattered. Whereas if you bring it all together, the energy that you put in actually multiplies. Every ounce of energy you put in, you have 10 ounces of result that can come through it. Who does this impact living in coherence? It impacts visionaries. Visionaries who struggle with fragmentation. If you are a visionary with a vision and an intention to realize this vision, it could be for yourself, it could be for the world, it could be for your business, it could be for your relationships. And if you're feeling that you're not able to make progress, or there's fragmentation that is dissipating your energy, you know this is what is happening. You're not living with coherence. So what it makes possible for you is power, clarity, experience of effortless magnetism. So the practice I use quite consistently and I have been doing now for, several decades. And I say this to people, every night balance your books. So it's a daily, to me, it's a daily review of my day. And I actually look at where my thought was different than my word, or my action different from what I was resonating within. Simply by acknowledging it, I come back into a state of coherence. By ignoring it, it starts to become a layer of gunk that keeps adding to itself. David and Helene, should I continue with the next one, or do you have something that you wish to bring in at this point?
I think we're good, right, Tony?
Yeah.
And we're running low on time, so yeah, let's just keep.
The fourth pathway is anchoring of choice. We are born with choice, as you've heard me say. The modus operandi of being a living being on this planet is choice. Okay, and it is only humans that go into, I had no choice, or I had to do this, or you made me do this, or this so-and-so forced me into this. Only humans have this. All other living beings are, comfortably anchored in choice. When you're anchored in choice, your reality is shaping itself and you're taking that next step next naturally. You are in cadence. So what does it mean when I say anchoring choice? Owning that your choices, not circumstances, shape reality. Taking the ownership for that. And I have people going, oh, well, the political system or this particular leader, look at what he's doing, the decisions he's making to the world. Yes, that is true. There are some leaders that are doing this. And how that impacts your reality is your choice. So anchoring choice basically means owning your choices, not circumstances. When you say that so-and-so is doing this and that, and it's shaping my life, or it's forcing me to do certain things, you're owning the circumstance. You're not owning your choice. So my husband was beating me up for 10 years, right? And I still had a career and I still did well in it. And okay, once my son was born, I got another level of motivation to keep moving forward. But there was a choice that I had made to continue to stay in this relationship. I had 7 years without a child with this man, and I still stayed there. And that was shaping my reality. But the moment I decided and I made the choice, coming from resonance, that it was time to now close and move forward, that shaped my reality. So look at where, where you're owning the circumstance as opposed to your choice, which is what is shaping the reality. Always, always, 100%. What occurs in your reality is shaped by your choices, not by the circumstance. You may as well own that it is your choice. It gives you the power back, and you can own making a different choice, and you will experience a completely different reality. Why does it matter? It matters because creation requires choice. Without it, you drift. With it, you manifest. This is the foundation and the essence of romance, as I teach, as a lifestyle. Who does it impact? Anyone who feels powerless or overwhelmed. There are a number of people. There's certain scams that are quite rampant at the moment, and there are a number of people that I know that I'm very close to who have been impacted by scamsters. Some to a small extent, some to a much larger extent. And some who, in their effort to get over a scam, actually got scammed by somebody else in the process. So feeling really powerless and overwhelmed with having to come out of retirement for some of them to be able to make up for all of the money that they lost. So easy to own the circumstance of this got done to me and that got done to me, and now you're really giving energy to scamsters and creating a magnetic effect of attracting more and more and more such situations that keep you powerless and overwhelmed. So with one of my friends, when this occurred, I mean, she was quite substantively wealthy, and it was an accidental wealth creation that occurred through Bitcoin. We were staying in Bali, and at that time we were neighbors for a period of time. And it was great, very exciting for her to become, a multimillionaire with all this Bitcoin that she had bought. And then she found a really great way of investing it with a company that was doing it for others. And then this company convinced her to invest the rest of her Bitcoin as well, because it showed how well it could multiply it. And then the owner of that particular company just, rumor has it, died, and was the only one that had whatever their secret code is. So everybody around the world that had invested with this particular company, which was considered to be a very substantive and very highly rated company, overnight lost everything. So it was this particular one that I worked with her, which is own your choice. Own your choice. It took her some time, and Hawaii was great. She went to stay in Hawaii for a couple of months, and from that emerged and returned back to Bali. And she's gone on to create a really amazing business because she needed that support of day spas, and a chain of day spas in Bali have now occurred as a result of her getting back and taking that power back. So what it made possible for her was return to that sovereignty, that empowerment, and intentional design of life. That's what it made possible when you do this anchoring in choice. You can begin, the practice that you can adopt is begin your day with today I choose. And whatever it is that you wish to choose that day, you choose it. Name the quality you will embody, is what I say. And that also becomes a powerful order to the universe to give you more and more reasons to experience that quality that you have declared that you will embody. David, shall I go on to the next one? We have 4 minutes left. You're muted.
Yeah, I think we should go as far as we can.
Okay. Okay. The fifth pathway is the miracle lens pathway. Miracle lens, you know what it is. All of you here have heard me say this. The miracle lens is the lens that each one of us has. And what it does is it shows you what is making your heart sing. And your heart is beating. That is a song of the heart. The miracle lens clarifies to you what is making it sing. So regardless of whatever challenge that you may be in, you look through the miracle lens, you can always find the gifts that are interwoven in those challenges. Every challenge is actually gifts that have been disguised as a challenge. If you look back at your life, so I mean, when I took this on for myself, I said, okay, last 5 years, what are the big challenges I've experienced? All of humanity experienced the challenge of COVID, 5 years ago now. And if you were to look at, regardless of whatever occurred in that time in your life or in and around you, if you were to look at what were the gifts that were disguised as these challenges, I mean, the biggest gift that we have is the earth chose to, reinvent itself rather than start over. And there's such a rise of humans starting to operate from their truth. There's so many elements of nature and species as well that have reclaimed. And of course, there are so many new species that also got birthed as a result of that 2.5 year slowdown, lockdown that occurred. So if you understand what the miracle lens is doing is really getting you to see the gifts that have been disguised in the form of challenge. You start anchoring your life as a life that is so rich in so many gifts, where each moment your life is enriched with more and more gifts, regardless of whatever may be occurring. Acknowledge what's occurring and acknowledge how it makes you feel. It was important for my friends in Rome when I said, okay, I'm not attending the conference, I'm actually going back to Dubai, for them to be able to acknowledge that this is shocking, this is disappointing, I don't know what to make of it. I don't know what does that actually mean to just make a decision and, run away from what you've committed to. Whatever it is that was going on for them, it was important for me to give them the space and allow them to express this before they could actually see the gift that was disguised in that challenge that they experienced for themselves. So why does it matter? Miracles are always present. Every moment is a moment of miracles, and they're only visible when you look through a lens that shows you what is the miracle in the moment. It impacts those that are stuck in scarcity, complaint, or fear. What it makes possible is transformation of breakdowns, transformation of where you feel stopped into massive breakthroughs. When something goes wrong, this is the practice that you can use, which is let me get my miracle lens out and look at what's the miracle. My heart is still singing. What is it singing about, and what's the miracle that is hidden here? You can literally go back and take an incident that might have occurred in the last 1 year and look at with the miracle lens. What is the miracle that's hidden there? Go back 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years. Take specific incidents and do this practice for yourself. And you remain anchored in expecting and accepting miracles. So we'll pause over here and continue next week. Over to you, David and Helene, to conclude the session.
Wow.
That was a lot.
Big wow, I'll tell you. You know, everything you mentioned tonight really, if you think about it, it really brings you closer to Source. It really makes you, uh, presents a clear understanding that when you do listen to yourself and be honest with yourself and recognize the miracle and everything, it really makes you feel like really connected with Source, with Spirit, more and more and more as you, allow your intention to be connected, with how, you really, you're being honest with yourself and in each moment. What do you want to say?
You said it very well.
Yeah.
I think it's very important, you know, this about the cadence and
Yeah.
this quantum creation. I mean, this is something that we all know about, but we don't always follow. We don't
Yeah.
always trust ourselves. And we have to. We have to be living our life according to what we see as important. And so many people don't. They're always following other people instead of their own essence, their own.
Yeah. And it is important to honor wherever you're at, even if you're just simply following others, it is still important to honor that, this is why I'm choosing for it to be this way. That's the
Yes.
key, you know?
Manu,
So,
you keep taking
yeah,
us to the level every week. It's just, it's beyond the beyond.
yeah, that's why I think it's so appropriate to call these portals, and opening this portal each week is an important part of what I'm bringing forth into the world, I guess.
Yes.
So my
And
job is to show up.
we're really in a great place, Colleen and I, and yet,
Yeah.
and we're feeling like every week that we don't want to miss what you have to, what you're.
Yes. Thank you for stepping in every time. Thank you. Deep appreciation.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, and have a great weekend. Thank you so much for your first birthday wishes. Um, Deep appreciation. Sunday is when it is. So
Oh,
I'm getting ready to get out into the world. Thank you so much. Namaste.
you're the best, Manu. We love you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Keep it.
Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. We really appreciate
Yes.
it. Namaste.
Namaste. Namaste.